Hello, it is me, Josh Bloom, a guy who was writing a podcast on the weekend of Thanksgiving, when people who acknowledge Thanksgiving are giving thanks with family and friends around a bountiful table with dishes such as turkey or tofurkey for those who pretend to care, mashed or scalloped potatoes, green bean casserole, and various other dishes. I just posted a couple of photos on Instagram of my late Aunt Carolee. Late in that she is no longer living, but also late in that I mentioned in my post a day when she and I were meeting on Long Island for lunch, and I was 10 minutes late. When I arrived, she was kind of pissed and said she was about to leave. I thought she was joking, but she quickly changed my mind on that. This behavior is indicative of my own mentality and behavior. I loved her a lot. The other photo I included is of Carolee at Thanksgiving at her place, where I would typically go when she was still alive. In the photo, Carolee is getting hella busy on a giant turkey leg and is not at all shy about being photographed doing it either. She was a classy lady, but she also understood the dark side of life, which is why she understood me and I understood her. It is why she was okay with me bringing a date, the old flame I have mentioned here for many weeks now, to Thanksgiving dinner. I have told you he can be a disruptive guy, but disruptive isn't always bad. You have heard of good trouble. Carolee let him go into her closet of unworn clothing. She collected more apparel than she could wear in a lifetime. My old flame didn't think twice about putting on women's clothing, and so he saw it as an opportunity to dress up and show off. My aunt even gave him one of her many knockoff designer bags, which she would have never used, to bring back as a gift for his mother. As I stated in the post about these pictures, this woman was a real one. I wish my father, her younger brother, had had his trauma manifest itself in a similar way to how my aunt's manifested. Some traumatized people become kind to others in a pronounced, maybe over-pronounced way. It offsets the abuse they are inflicting on themselves. Like I said, she and I understood darkness and talked about it. Others turn this darkness outward. You know what I mean. Speaking of siblings, I am writing this at the P and finding it challenging when my brother walks in here. I'm not gonna lie, I actually am afraid of the guy. In my current Come With Me to See video playing now, I talk about unexpectedly running into him on the day that I headed to the Spike Lee film that I review in the video, and how he approached me with a look on his face that reminded me of when my father, my Aunt Carolee's younger brother, was about to slap the shit out of me. As I type this now, I am accumulating more typos than usual because I am flustered. I can feel the heat on my face. I had an instinct when I noticed my brother was nearby. I said to myself, Josh, look busy. Put a copy of your book on the table. Sit more casually. I thought these thoughts in an instant, but got myself under control quickly. If I am going to persevere and not allow this unfortunate reality to have a negative influence on me and my life, it is crucial to work on not noticing it beyond what I am letting you know now. I obviously don't mind that the broken relationship with my brother provides me with content. I do mind that the relationship was actually never not broken. I was only ever close with him on his terms. Then a time came when I needed to address the issues that had been building for years. That time was the beginning of where we are now. I won't stop coming here to the P. In fact, today I showed the lovely woman who has worked here for 12 years and who is so nice to me and everyone who comes in here the acknowledgments page in my book where I mentioned her. I won't bail out on the P just because of my brother. By the way, I acknowledged him and his family on that page as well. I am not looking to erase him from my history. I am looking to build a future. If I were ever going to bail on the P, it would be due to the bad behavior of so many of my fellow customers. I am doing a good job of turning my disgust into art, however. Here is a poem I wrote earlier in the week. It is entitled, "You Loud, Girl." Do you know your phone is on speaker? Or are you an unaware attention seeker? Well, you have mine, unsublime, imagining drowning you in a bucket of wine. But that would be a waste of wine. Do you care that your phone is on speaker? Pacing in my periphery? Self-control growing weaker. Look, I am writing this now to maintain the appearance of a dude adjacent to sane. But that would be a waste of sanity. Since that last stanza, I have an update. I said sarcastically in a volume not subject to mistake, "I don't make calls on speaker in public. Why would someone do that?" She scurried away as I sat, satisfied, under two hats. But that would be a waste of hats. Speaking of wasted hats, the manager here at the P lost one of my expensive North Face winter hats last year. I didn't even remember it was relatively expensive until I tried to replace it and realized it was now relatively beyond my means. It's my fault, really. I put it next to me where I was sitting along with an Italian scarf that was gifted to me and was likely also expensive. I left them behind, but noticed as soon as I got home. I called the P, spoke to the manager, and he saw them there where I told him I left them. He told me he would put them in the office. When I came in the next morning to pick them up, he went into the office to get them, and they were gone. He asked around, but no one knew anything about it. I let it go right away. The manager offered a gift card, but I said, "Don't worry about it. It's my fault. I left them here." I figured since I would be seeing him day after day, it was better just to let him know he didn't need to feel any kind of way about it. I really do miss that hat, though. Speaking of missing, do not miss my latest Come With Me to See video. It's the one I mentioned earlier where I talk about being confronted by my brother in the P. It contains sibling drama, sausage McMuffin drama, and of course, the narration of my 9,000-word piece about Spike Lee's latest drama, the film Highest to Lowest. Even though it took 3 months to the day since I saw this film to complete this 90-minute video, I am excited and proud of how it turned out. Subscribers to my Substack are informed as soon as I publish my reviews, aka Josh Bloom's Right on Time recaps, as well as the accompanying Come With Me to See videos. Subscribe and you will be the first to know when I post about a classic from my childhood, The Goonies, and what some may consider a future classic, the soon-to-be Oscar-nominated Paul Thomas Anderson film, One Battle After Another. I am also embarking on another film journey in a little over a week, and I will tell you more about this shortly. I urge you to subscribe at superjews.substack.com to stay informed. To watch the latest Come With Me to See video, look for a link in the show notes. This is episode number 58 of the Josh Bloom is inclined to use this space to talk some more about his wonderful late Aunt Carolee, how quirky she was, and the dark behaviors she exhibited that left an impression on Josh that might not have been left on others who would either choose to ignore such behavior or diminish it. But for Josh, they lent insight about a woman who was more complex than maybe anyone ever knew. But those remembrances and recollections will have to be left to a more substantial work, because right now, despite Josh's inclination, he is mired in a more petty memory about his lost hat that he is now missing as his first winter in many years approaches without it, which may seem ridiculous, but think about the safety and warmth that a winter hat that also has a cool look can bring while it protects your ears from the cold while listening to the Josh Bloom Podcast, aka the Josh Bloom Podcast. It is the latest edition of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration, days 292 through 298. This week on the show, on day 292, it's time to celebrate once again. We are at 20% through 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. As usual, I take this moment to encourage myself and you to remember that this mission is about being mindful, optimistic, and hopeful as we persevere, while at the same time gaining a perspective we never would have if we were not suffering the dum-dums in our midst. On day 293, I address a commenter named TikTok user 5900, and you should know by now that my criticism comes in the form of taking this user to task about their grammar. The pride people are taking in not being able to read, speak, or write coincides with the abolition of the Department of Education. Thanks so much for the content inspiration, Trump administration. On day 294, I discuss everyone's need for authenticity. We want the people we interact with to be authentic, and we want to be perceived as authentic. I remind you that the leader of the Trump administration is perceived as authentic by his followers because he is authentic to his character. We can count on him to be exactly who he is, which on this particular day, I felt salty enough to say that exactly who he is a lying piece of crap. On day 295, I do something I could not have ever predicted, and that is to congratulate the leader of the Trump administration for what appears to be some unexpected support of the LGBTQ community in the form of the possible revelation of some potentially intimate moments with the former leader of the Clinton administration. I don't believe the rumors, but it is pretty funny and gross to contemplate. On day 295, I ask, do you know who Tony from Brooklyn is? I will not reveal who Tony is now, so you will have to stay tuned, but I will tell you this question is related to a discussion I had with a conservative friend about how to successfully talk to people in a way that will leave them feeling like you aren't full of shit. I mean, who's not going to give a minute of their time to Tony from Brooklyn? On day 297, I addressed the concern about the future of hemp-derived products as a bill makes its way through Congress attempting to outlaw them federally. The message on this day isn't necessarily about this one initiative. It is about the fact that freedom is already out of the bag. We are too used to it, and it will not be taken away, especially by low IQ old farts named Tommy Tuberville, senator from Alabama. On day 298, I continue to invoke the name of Kamala Harris because I believe in the power of black women, and I believe in the power of this black woman. I consistently hear that a reason for not voting for Kamala was her perceived inability to handle Putin. I will explain a little bit about my own history with black women and how they handled me. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social media. Find all of the links at superjews.com or IamJoshBloom.com. Both links go to my Linktree, but I've included the second one in case you don't want to type Super Jews into your browser. I understand. Speaking of, I have the username Super Jews because I am a super Jew, and I don't care about stereotypes when it comes to that because I feel like I can lean on a stereotype about my people and me if I want to. In this case, I want your money. And at the moment, I want your money in exchange for a copy of my book about the groundbreaking psych pop band, The Apples in Stereo. More specifically, I want my publisher to take your money for a copy of my book so I can recoup my advance and start to get paid, baby. Go to applesbook.com for options to buy at all of your favorite and least favorite booksellers. I was recently interviewed by a few podcasts about the book, and I will keep you posted on when those interviews go live. I was lucky to have a couple of those podcast hosts and others offer quotes about the book, which I will unashamedly read to you now in an attempt to motivate a money for book exchange. Jed Bodwin, host of NPR's Into Music podcast, says, Josh Bloom, that's me, has delivered a deliciously singular work that defies classification and makes us rethink the rock book. Mark Masters, the esteemed music journalist and author who writes for Rolling Stone, The Washington Post, and Pitchfork, among others, says, this book is a different style of band biography than I'm used to, and I like it. A uniquely compelling view of a uniquely compelling band. Mark is also the host of the Music Book podcast, an incredibly appropriate podcast for me to talk about my book about the Apples in Stereo on. I was thrilled to be his guest. Chad Stockfleth, director of the Elephant Six recording company documentary, Elephant Six being the collective and label started by members of the Apples in Stereo, says, the mythology of the Elephant Six collective has a way of obscuring some details. Josh isn't afraid to go mining in the shadowy crevices of the mountain. And author Adam Clare, the writer of the definitive book about Elephant Six titled Endless Endless, a Lo-Fi History of the Elephant Six Mystery, calls the book a hyper-dimensional look at a band that refracted music history. Josh's considered, cubist, and personal approach is the expression of a 3-decade obsession. Last but not least, and in fact, least, Robert Schneider of the Apples in Stereo, in an extensive Facebook post, said in part, I am really moved. It packs an emotional punch. An honest book by an honest author. I will admit I texted Robert later to say, I am honest as a fault, not to one. We both laughed using emojis. Once again, go to applesbook.com and purchase your copy. Thanks for listening, and now let's get into 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. Just so you know, I am currently at the P where the other manager, not the one who lost my hat, said to me at the coffee station, "Did someone take your office?" referring to the table by the window where I like to sit. I took this comment lightheartedly, though after a week when the Wi-Fi wasn't working at the P and many of my fellow office workers were complaining about it, I finally sent an email to the home office asking if they could reset it, which they did immediately. The next day, the same manager said, "The Wi-Fi is working okay now?" He didn't say it in a snarky way, and my email to the home office included comments about how much I love everyone at the P. In fact, I had noticed and also commented that I thought the current management had really turned the place around, but my guilt, another stereotype I claim as a Jew, has lingered in the background when I interact with this dude. Anyway, just in case you're concerned, the overriding factor here is that this coffee station occurrence from moments ago allows me another story to tell you. It also means that I have internet here at the P right now, so I will see you on the other side. Day 292 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump Administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Let me get right to the point. 20%. That's right, 20%. And no, that is not the percentage that the price of your groceries have gone up, because it's probably gone up a lot more than that. It is the amount of days that we are through 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am proud because I have been here every goddamn day to remind myself, and if you are watching, to remind you that we can do this. We can survive the most corrupt, traitorous, and disrespectful person that we have ever had the occasion to encounter in a position of leadership in our lifetimes. Every day, I receive the comment, "You're not ignoring the Trump administration," from people who do not understand that this is a philosophy. This is not about restricting oneself from being aware of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration and their complete and total disregard for the way of life of their constituents. It is about not allowing the behavior that I've just described to infiltrate our consciousness in a way that robs us of our mindfulness, optimism, and hope. And I, for one, have achieved that goal for the last 292 days, and I hope that you will continue with me. I also hope to continue to receive that comment, which I receive on every platform, because this tells me that the message is clear. And I would like to make the message clear once again here on day 292 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. Turn away from the constant stream of news that informs us every moment of the day about the corrupt behavior of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration. Let me also add, so that the final 80% of this project can be understood through a less biased lens. I am not only talking about mainstream media news sources. Like, they seem like a nice bunch of bros, but I don't listen to those pod save boys either, because they get paid very, very well to talk about the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, and I don't want to hear it. Let's use the regained time applied to our reclaimed mind to be more creative, to enrich the world around us, and to love those in our lives who do not have the kind of resolve that we do. Thank you for considering this information, and please continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 293 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. TikTok user 5900, which I assume means TikTok user 5899 was taken, says it's okay. This is what we did with the last administration. Now, I want to take this moment to do something that is probably going to feel mundane. I am going to criticize TikTok user 5900's grammar. When you say it's okay, but you forget to use the apostrophe in it's, then you are actually saying that the leader of the Trump administration, the subject of my video, owns being okay. What you are technically saying with this mistake is that the leader of the Trump administration owns the fact that he is only okay. And having one of his supporters assert that he is merely okay is not going to be acceptable to a narcissistic leader such as the leader of the Trump administration. You used it as a possessive rather than what I believe you were trying to do, which was to say it is okay, referring to my assertion that we are suffering through the leader of the Trump administration. I assume, TikTok user 5900, that you were sarcastically trying to pat me on the head, but instead, your comment suggests that the leader of the Trump administration himself is just okay. And if he is just okay, then I would have to wonder why you have thrown your support behind this person to the level that would cause you to leave not one, but two comments on this video. I am concerned, TikTok user 5900, about what you are doing with your time, because while you criticize me for making this series something that requires thought, planning, execution, and creativity, and the use of several brain cells, you, as merely a commenter, only submit yourself to my will by getting triggered and reacting to it in a way that uses up valuable time in your life, which I now own. Now, you might say, but Josh, you are doing the same by responding to my comment now. Well, TikTok user 5900, I need the content. I do this every day after all, and I am also doing a service by doing this for the followers of the leader of the Trump administration like yourself, who do not seem to possess the intelligence to use proper grammar. And even worse, if they do have the intelligence to use proper grammar, then they do not have the intelligence to proofread. That is the end of today's education. Please continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 294 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. We are bound together by a need for authenticity. We all want it. We all want to be authentic and to have the people we interact with to be authentic. The leader of the Trump administration is perceived as authentic by his followers because he is authentic to his character, even though to more than 50% of the voters, his character is that of an effing a-hole. Remember, the leader of the Trump administration grew up and lived an entire life as a lying piece of crap, and so we can count on him to be that. It's like if Macaulay Culkin played bitchy bitch instead of Richie Rich. But again, authenticity. At least we know that when we are listening to him, we are listening to a lying piece of crap. We don't have to wonder. He is saying and doing exactly what he believes in at any given moment. The next leader that comes along when the culture makes an incremental shift that inevitably swings power to the left again will be good for the culture. It will be good to get to some semblance of a governing center that we can all agree on or at least tolerate. When that leader comes along, that leader might not be a Democrat or a Republican. That leader may say, I'm an independent because I am tired of the only labels we motherfucking got. That person is going to be someone who shrugs their shoulders when it comes to the leader of the Trump administration and says, we thank him for his service as president. And they're going to leave it at that. The Department of Justice will investigate and prosecute, but I have a feeling that the tone from leadership will be along the lines of, we went through a moment in history and it's history because we're not in that moment anymore. We're in this moment right now. This is an authentic metaphorical shoulder shrug that will piss off some who take sides, but will also preserve the respect of the portion of the nation who is currently actually shrugging its shoulders as we continue to ignore the Trump administration. Day 295 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I am just trying to help myself. I don't say what I'm about to say often or even ever. I would like to congratulate the leader of the Trump administration today. It has been revealed that his background support of the LGBTQ community has been grossly underestimated. If you do not know what I'm talking about, an email came to light, please excuse the pun, that detailed a potential intimacy involving a portion of the face of the leader of the Trump administration and a non-face portion of the anatomy of the former leader of the Clinton administration. This is a revelation that none of us were expecting, but all of us are reveling in because it shows a side of the leader of the Trump administration that is sensitive, that is loving, and that is interested in his partner's pleasure. I do not believe I have seen this kind of generosity when it comes to the leader of the Trump administration before, even with his latest wife, First Lady of the Trump administration, if you prefer her more beard-like title. I call it like I see it. I come out with it. Please ignore the pun again. In a way that I hope will soften any blow. Damn it. I hope the leader of the Trump administration does not have any hard feelings today. I want to say that I hope Donald Trump, if I may call you Donald, is embracing the fact that the public is aware of and accepting of his orientation. And out of respect for his privacy, I will ignore the Trump administration. Day 296, 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Who do you think of when I ask, do you know who Tony from Brooklyn is? I was making small talk with a right-wing friend of mine about the cold and flu season, and as the conversation began to get less small, it turned to the subject of masks. Then Dr. Anthony Fauci's name was raised, and while you may be able to guess what my friend's opinion was of the man, you might be surprised about how he agreed with me when I introduced the topic I brought up on day 294 of 1,461 days of ignoring the Trump administration. That topic was authenticity. My friend nodded enthusiastically in agreement when I suggested that if Dr. Fauci had done a quick television appearance every day and said, hey, it's Tony from Brooklyn, professionally known as Dr. Anthony Fauci, Here's what I suggest today as far as how to deal with a virus that I don't understand yet. But since, as a doctor, I have a teeny tiny bit of knowledge beyond yours about it, here's what I think. Remember, even though I'm a doctor, I'm still just Tony from Brooklyn at the end of the day. So I'm suggesting that you do this and don't do that. And if you don't want to do it, don't fucking do it. Cool? I'm out. This has been Tony from Brooklyn, and I'm gonna go shoot some hoops at this outdoor court. See you tomorrow. Peace. This idea is about talking to people with the understanding that all of our knowledge is ultimately limited and that personal autonomy in decision making is more likely to result in respecting others' personal independence than not. Now, I did not and do not have any problem with Dr. Fauci or how he approached his role in dealing with the pandemic. But I also know that others did, and I have heard that perspective, some of which sound based on the issues I raised above, and others that sound based on easily dismissed conspiracy theories. I believe in the need for authenticity and transparency, even if we fear the consequences for the population. Because the other side of that coin is continuing to ignore the Trump administration. Day 297 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Are you concerned about the outlawing of hemp products? Now, I personally know someone who manufactures a THC infused soda, so I know he's not happy about this development. If you are concerned about the potential outlawing of hemp, I say do not be so concerned, because if Americans express outrage, this outrage will keep such a proposal from being enacted. Unfortunately, some politicians preach a message that says they don't want anyone trying to squeeze them into being someone they're not, while spending all day or a couple of hours a day max, considering these are politicians after all, trying to squeeze other people into being something they're not. I think Cheech and Chong worked more hours than the average senator, frankly. I will tell you right now that the cat is already out of the bag, baby. It's been out of the bag for a long, long time. Americans are too used to freedom, and we're not going to tolerate a football coach from Alabama trying to take it away from us. Sorry to single out the infinitely stupid Tommy Tuberville here. He's certainly not the only dummy, but he's got the dumbest name for sure. It is fun to say, though, even more fun than Tommy Chong. If the government wanted Americans to not get used to freedom, the founding fathers would have established a country similar to how North Korea is today, with no connection whatsoever to the outside world. While America has certainly grown up amidst problems that we have yet to atone for, one thing is for sure: the constant reminders about what we need to atone for are just that, constant. Anytime a legislator attempts to wipe the slate clean, a segment of the population makes sure that there ain't no eraser to be found. Just like gay marriage was not overturned, the legalization of hemp products will not be affected either, no matter what the federal government attempts to dictate, because eventually states will realize, hey, this doesn't work for us. Whatever we are protecting by keeping these products illegal is worth less to us than if these products were available. In other words, states will refuse to abide by nonsensical legislation and will do the right thing by ignoring the Trump administration. Day 298 of 1,461 Days of Ignoring the Trump administration. I am not a self-help guru. I'm just trying to help myself. Of course, Kamala Harris can take on Putin. Are you fucking kidding me? When I have watched debaters here on this app talking to supporters of the leader of the Trump administration and the Trump administration, and they ask those supporters why they would not vote for Kamala Harris, the reason they give, more often than any other reason, is that she could not handle Vladimir Putin. Now, I am telling you that not only could she handle Vladimir Putin, she could handle Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is a man that I can guarantee you has never had to deal with a black woman. And when I speak about dealing with a black woman, I am not making some guesstimation, because during my extensive history in the music business, I have had black women deal with me. Through my extensive experience in the music industry, both personally and professionally, I have had the good fortune to learn that black women do not play. I have been on tour with black women. I have done business deals with black women, and I have worked with black women in the recording studio. I have visited their towns, seen their circumstances, and attended their parties. In my experience, black women are generous, giving, loving people until you cross them. I have seen what happens when that happens, and when that happens, they do not play, even when they are teaching someone a lesson that someone has shown them must be taught. They do it with that same generosity I speak of, because they are legitimately trying to teach, not to retaliate, not to exact revenge, not to even the score, but to teach, because they have already accepted that you are deficient in your education. I leave you with this. Our leadership has yet to effectively deal with Vladimir Putin in its current iteration. We need a leader who can make Putin change course instead of him continuing to ignore the Trump administration. Hey, it's Josh. I am back at my kitchen table. It has taken me a week to write this podcast for you. I am suffering from some seasonal depression, which for me, luckily, is a short season, because I am aware of the symptoms of depression as they start to depress. I am in a state these days of what I call radical acceptance of my behavioral tendencies in an attempt to confront and deal with them. And so, when this depressive state begins to make a statement such as, "Hey Josh, I am going to fuck with your sense of stability now at a time of year when it is dark and gray and cold every day, so you can use your external senses to amplify the negative feelings that are inundating your internal sense of mindfulness, optimism, and hope." Also, the TikTok algorithm is now severely suppressing political content, which is frustrating for a guy like me who makes surprisingly severe political content. Sometimes I miss the days when I just talked about how thin Lenny Kravitz is. I know I will get out of this rut and back to discussing Lenny's size 28 waist again soon, but for now, radical acceptance lets me believe I can personally return to a size 32. Part of this depression and the associated radical acceptance is also related, among many other pressures, to the old flame that I do not name, but have said would continue to be mentioned as part of a dramatic narrative here on the Josh Bloom podcast. For now, even though we exchanged a happy Thanksgiving over text initiated by him, I know his personal troubles prevent us from making a productive attempt at reconciliation right now. It is literally the 278th time that we have tried to split up for good. As part of radical acceptance, I am accepting that we should split up this time for bad. What I mean is that instead of me trying to wipe the slate clean with the dude, I am focusing on what I need from the deal and being okay with knowing that for now, he can't bring that to the table. Hey, maybe the 278th time is the charm. Isn't that how that saying goes? As I said on the last episode, I don't mean to sound heavy here at the end of the show, but perhaps if life is even heavier for you, my confession could seem light. As usual, if you would like to console me with the caffeine found in coffee, you can do so via the coffee consolation conduit called Buy Me a Coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/Josh Bloom. Please also go to applesbook.com to secure your copy of my book, The Apples in Stereo, which is receiving praise from journalists, as I mentioned earlier, and I am now seeing posts from fans who have received and read the book after pre-ordering. The responses that confirm that the book is fun and entertaining mean the world to me, because that is all I really wanted to do. I want to entertain you. Thanks again for listening. Please leave a 5-star rating for the Josh Bloom podcast in your podcast app and leave a comment saying that you like the show. I know that the release schedule has been in flux. I hope my explanation of my state of mind helps clarify why this is happening. I should add, however, that I have also been doing press for the book, promoting it, and completing other projects like the epic Spike Lee Come With Me to See video, which you should watch now on my YouTube channel. I am no lazy bum. If anything, I am only the bum part. Please also tell a friend about the show, or tell a stranger you meet at a rest stop on the side of the highway. When you go to the counter to pay for a vegan Slim Jim, if they do make such a thing, you could say, "Hey bro, I was surprised to find that Slim Jim manufactures a vegan Slim Jim." The host of the Josh Bloom podcast mentioned vegan Slim Jims, and in the same breath said that he didn't know if a vegan Slim Jim actually existed, but here it is in my hand. When the dude at the counter says, "Shit man, I have been trying to move those vegan Slim Jims for ages. Thank gosh for Josh, the vegan Slim Jim whisperer," I feel like you and this clerk will bond over this exchange, and not only will you both benefit from the camaraderie, but I will gain a new listener for life. Please try it, and if there is no vegan Slim Jim after all, maybe buy some string cheese instead. Lastly, visit me everywhere for everything at superjews.com or IamJoshBloom.com for links to all of my social media, long-form Substack writing, YouTube playlists, TikTok posts, poetry, and more. Thanks again for listening. See you next week, or maybe even earlier.